The rise and fall of performative males in 2025 must be explored.
What's your political opinion?
Oh, I think women periods should be abolished.
Hey, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking matcha.
Are you okay? What are you reading?
Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen.
What's it about?
From open competitions determining who is the most performative male, to starter packs detailing exactly what a performative male looks like, the media the performative male consumes, and the types of language a performative male uses, it would appear the idea has become a worldwide phenomenon. It's easy to recognize a performative male because you've probably already experienced one. They're the male equivalent of pick-me girls, the type of girl who tells guys they're not like those other girls who only care about makeup and drama, they're one of the boys. A performative male will tell girls they're not like other guys and are emotionally vulnerable, sensitive, intelligent, and respect women. Hence the piece of feminist literature that is often accompanying performative males which is never actually read and understood. This specific iteration of the performative male meme arguably began with the memes regarding men pretending to read feminist literature in full view of other people, notably within a cafe or bar whilst smoking a cigarette and drinking natural wine. The thing is, performance within society is a normal thing to a specific degree. However, a performative male has one goal in mind: dressing a certain way, consuming media a certain way, and speaking a certain way, all to manipulate women, attempt to feel superior to other men, or to signal that he's a nice dude who is cultured, but at the end of the day he actually isn't. However, people regularly perform even when the goal isn't to sleep with a woman or feel superior. For instance, men will often perform for other men to impress them. Perhaps they'll pretend to be a bit more into sports than they really are, or hide their love of anime for fear of being branded childish, or even chug liters of beer despite hating the taste. However, it turns out that the idea of a performative male actually has many names and stereotypes that have popped up before, as the notion of a guy who appeals to women as a nice person yet is ultimately not as such is a tale as old as time. They used to be called fuckboys, but a specific subcategory of that called softboys. They're the original self-described nice guys. You know, someone who says they're nice but is actually very entitled as a result. They try to dress for the concept of the female gaze, with the specific point of looking attractive, which is fine on its own, but they will weaponize their understanding of the female gaze to manipulate others into sleeping with them. The point is that every action a performative male takes is done so with ulterior motives, and the sensitive and nice persona they're signaling is usually the complete opposite of their real nasty personality. The concept of the fuckboy ran rife through the 2010s. Instead of a performative male who pretends to care about women, signaling as such through fashion, accessories, and literature, the original fuckboy was far less vague about their efforts. They leaned into the douchebag personality to be loud, brash, and work their way into the pants of women through more overt manipulation, hence the title of fuckboy. However, when this specific stereotype became easily spottable and denigrated by society, the fuckboy had to lean into a different direction. This is where the concept of the soft boy was born, in which certain men shared very similar characteristics of performative males of today.
Right, what should I eat? Oh god, this isn't the menu, this is my Virginia Woolf book. Did you see that? Yeah, I know. I thought it was the menu, but it was my feminist literature. Are you into feminist literature? I don't know why girls wear makeup. Like, I honestly think you're pretty without.
A softboy is a person who basically weaponizes the idea of being alternative, unique, intellectual, or emotionally vulnerable to either position themselves as superior to others or to manipulate women into thinking of them as nice guys who respect others. However, when pressed into revealing more about the interests they performatively branded themselves with, it often turned out to be extremely shallow. They might call themselves a niche film enjoyer but only have watched Pulp Fiction, or claim to know underground indie music but turns out they just like Tame Impala. And the funniest part is that they will act superior from knowing these pieces of media. The performative male is exactly the same in 2025. They'll pretend to read feminist literature, drink matcha because it's a niche drink no one has heard of, and listen to underground music like Clairo. All of this just goes to show that the idea of the performative male is nothing new. It's simply another phrase for a type of guy who exists specifically to pretend to like certain things in order to get a woman to sleep with him. That being said, the idea that you can get women through manipulation is of course older than that, and the idea of the pickup artist is a long historied one. The difference here is that instead of trying to appear as an alpha male who has ultimate confidence and dominance, performative males specifically attempt to pick up women who are into men who are a little more reserved, intelligent, and empathetic. They try try their best to adhere to what women want, aka the female gaze, and base their manufactured personality off that. But at the end of the day, they are no different to the fuckboys or pickup artists of yesteryear. Life is a performance. Participating in society is a performance. There are thousands of unspoken rules about what is and isn't acceptable, and these rules change by the day. In fact, simply going out and making friends involves a whole song and dance that signals a person is sane, reliable, and trustworthy, which is why neurodivergent people often struggle to do so. Autistic people famously find reading facial expressions and reading between the lines of implied conversation difficult, and thus struggle to make friends, as they also seem upset or angry to neurotypicals who can't get a read on them. Thus, the concept of masking becomes all the more significant, which is a process everyone undertakes to some degree in the sense that they conceal traits that might be considered less sociable in order to fit in. As a result, whilst it is true that performative males are putting on the song and dance in terms of being socially acceptable in order to sleep with women or feel superior to others, there's a sense that the rest of the world is undertaking this same performative process to some degree. Even the phrase, "just be yourself," needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because saying and doing every little thing that comes into your head can actually be incredibly harmful. For example, the ability to have a selfish thought and then not act on it is what allows humans to mature and ultimately become better people, and so putting on a little bit of performance is what makes society livable. As such, if you genuinely like reading feminist literature, or drinking matcha, or listening to certain music, or wearing baggy pants with a tucked-in shirt that appeals to the female gaze, don't assume you're a bad person because of it. Everyone is performative in some aspect of their life, it's just a question of what you decide to do with that performance that determines whether or not you can be called a performative male. Whilst performative males are defined by the media they consume, the emotional vulnerability they pretend to possess, or the fact that they loudly profess their respect for women, it is the fact that they are manipulators that makes them horrible people. They fit into the trend of the fuckboy at heart, masking their ulterior motives by seriously putting in market research to determine the best way to put a woman's guard down long enough for them to trust them. It isn't a new trick, but it seems like every few years a new name for the process is launched into digital spaces, as new ways for guys to manipulate women into thinking they're someone they're not follow suit. Maybe they wear Labubus to show they're secure about their masculinity. Maybe they tell you a loved one has passed away and that they need someone to cuddle. Maybe they pretend to be an outsider into alternative fashion, but it turns out they just watched a TikTok telling them how to look good. It's all layers upon layers upon layers, but at the end of the day, these guys are no different to pickup artists, which is why there's been so much attention towards them online. The fact that there are performative male contests means it's a stereotype for good reason. There are genuine dudes out there who have learned to try this on, attempting to look bookish and intelligent to make women like them, or to lord it over others with a false sense of superiority for liking underground things. In short, the performative male stereotype exists because performing within society is a common way to fit in. However, the differentiation between this and the regular type of blending via social norms is the fact that a performative male is somewhat antisocial. They only wish to appear a certain way because they have ulterior motives, whilst most people will be friendly or put on a sociable appearance because they genuinely seek connection, even if that's through matcha, Labubus, literature, fashion, and movies like Pulp Fiction. See you next time on Lessons in Internet Culture.